1 vine, 200 fruits, 0 tying, 0 trellis, 0 work after the day you planted it. That's not marketing. That's one plant on this list, and it's not even the most productive. Most gardeners spend their summers fighting their vegetables, staking tomatoes, tying cucumbers, untangling squash, sprawling across half the yard. They never realize there's an entire category of vegetables that climbs for you. Stems wrap around fences, tendrils grip wire. Some plants use their own leaf stems as hooks. You do nothing. They cover the fence. I grew 10 of them along one fence 2 summers ago. By midsummer, it looked like a hedge. By late summer, a grocery store. By fall, I was giving food away because I couldn't eat it fast enough. Stick around, number 5, is so productive that families in the American South leave bags of it on neighbors' porches. Number 7 grows a pod. So long, people hold it against their arm to check if it's real. And number 10 returns every spring for 30 years from a single planting. Subscribe now. Every week, we show you how to grow more food in the space you already have. Number 1. Cucamelon. Picture a watermelon the size of a grape that tastes like cucumber with a squeeze of lime. That's the cucamelon, also called mouse melon or Mexican sour gherkin, native to Mexico. Almost nobody grew it in North America until a decade ago. Anyone who tries it grows it for life. The vines look delicate. They aren't. Thin, curling tendrils grip wire cages, netting, or any thin trellis on their own. They reach 12 feet in one season, drought-tolerant, pest-free, untouched by the powdery mildew and beetles that destroy regular cucumber vines. One plant produces dozens of tiny striped fruits, ripening from midsummer to first frost. Now, the harvest rule most growers learn the hard way. Pick them firm and green, at the size of a large grape. Once they soften and turn purple, they get bitter, seedy, and act as a strong laxative. Pick green. Pick often. The plant keeps producing. Eat them raw off the vine. Drop them whole into salads. Pickle them in jars, where they look like tiny watermelons in brine. Here's what most people miss entirely. At the end of the season, the plant produces underground tubers. Dig them up before the ground freezes. Store them in a frost-free shed in damp sand. Replant in spring. Second-year plants grow faster and produce earlier than seed-grown vines. 1 packet of seeds, perpetual harvests. Number 2, scarlet runner beans. Most plants on this list give you one thing. Scarlet runner beans give you 4. Most people who plant them only know about 1. First, the display. Vivid scarlet flowers cover the vines from midsummer through fall, so densely that people who don't know it's a food plant stop and ask what it is. Hummingbirds find it from miles away. Second, the green pods. Pick them young at 3 to 4 inches before they turn fibrous. Boil them, steam them, slice them into a sauté. Third, the dried seeds. Let some pods dry on the vine, shell them, and inside are the largest, most beautiful bean seeds you'll ever hold, pinkish-purple with black speckles. They look like jewelry, not food. Fourth, and almost nobody knows this, the flowers are edible, mild, bean-like flavor, raw in salads. Now here's what makes this plant a permanent fence resident. It climbs itself. The vine twines clockwise around any support and grows 15 feet in one season. No tying, no training, no intervention. And unlike common green beans, scarlet runner is cold tolerant. It germinates in soil as cool as 50 degrees, so you can plant it weeks before other beans. In zones 7 through 11, it overwinters from starchy, tuberous roots and comes back bigger every year. In colder zones, dig the tubers in fall, store them in damp sand, replant in spring. Sow seeds 1 inch deep, 6 to 8 inches apart, along the fence after your last frost. The vine takes over. 4 harvests, 1 fence, 1 plant. From a packet of seeds most gardeners walk past. Number 3. Malabar spinach. Every gardener knows regular spinach disappears in summer. It bolts in heat, turns bitter in long days, leaves you without fresh greens, exactly when everything else is producing. Most gardeners accept this. They shouldn't. A climbing vine from tropical South Asia has been quietly solving the summer spinach problem for centuries. Malabar spinach doesn't just tolerate summer heat, it requires it. Growth slows below 68 degrees and peaks above 90. The conditions that kill regular spinach are the conditions this plant was built for. It climbs by twining soft stems around any vertical support. 6 to 10 feet in a single summer. Over 30 feet as a perennial in the tropics. No tendrils to manage. No tying. Here's the part that surprises every first-time grower. You don't pick individual leaves. You cut whole stems, the top 6 to 8 inches, from any growing tip, and the plant branches from that cut, producing 2 new growing tips where there was 1. The more aggressively you harvest, the more aggressively it produces. The leaves are thick, glossy, and slightly mucilaginous, perfect for thickening soups and stews. They also stir-fry beautifully and work raw in salads. Rich in vitamins A and C, calcium, and iron. One critical rule: keep the soil consistently moist. Water stress triggers premature flowering, which stops leaf production and turns the foliage bitter. Plant after soil warms past 65 degrees. Full sun, sturdy trellis, summer greens until frost. Number 4. Achocha. This is the cucumber relative the Andes have grown for thousands of years, that almost no North American gardener has ever heard of. Achocha, also called caigua or stuffing cucumber, climbs by spiraling tendrils, reaches 16 feet in one season, and produces hollow, pepper-shaped fruits that solve a problem you didn't know cucumbers had. Here's the problem. Regular cucumbers are solid. You can slice them. You can pickle them. You can't stuff them. Achocha can. The mature fruits develop a hollow interior with a small cluster of flat black seeds in the center that scoop out cleanly with a spoon. What you're left with is a natural edible vessel, 3 to 6 inches long. Fill it with seasoned meat, rice, cheese, or vegetables, and bake or fry it like a stuffed pepper. It's the only climbing vegetable on this list that doubles as cookware. Young fruits, picked before the cavity forms, are eaten raw and taste like crisp, mild cucumbers. The tender shoots and lobed leaves, which look strikingly like hemp leaves, are excellent in stir-fries and soups. The plant is exceptionally cold-tolerant for a cucurbit. It grows in temperatures just above freezing and survives brief drops to 23 degrees. But it can't survive a hard frost. Give it warm soil to germinate, full sun, consistently moist ground, and strong support. The vines are heavy when fully loaded. Slow-release organic fertilizer twice a season is all the feeding it needs. Achocha is the kind of plant people grow once and refuse to be without. Number 5. Chayote. I need to be honest with you before I say anything else. If you give this plant a fence and a warm climate and step back, it won't just cover the fence. It will reach the roof. It will be in your neighbor's yard by September. That's not a warning. That's the point. One mature chayote vine produces 80 to 100 pear-shaped fruits in a single season. Stay with that number. Not 5, not 10, 80 to 100 fruits from one plant every year. Chayote is a perennial climber, native to southern Mexico and Guatemala, that has fed people across the Caribbean, Central America, and the American South for centuries. This plant is built for abundance. It doesn't know how to produce moderately. It climbs aggressively with some of the strongest tendrils in the cucurbit family. The grooved stems grow 30 to 50 feet in one season. You need a robust overhead trellis at least 6 feet high. Now here's one of the strangest facts in all of vegetable gardening. The seed sprouts while the fruit is still attached to the vine. It's called vivipary. You don't extract a seed. You take a whole sprouted chayote, Let the shoot reach a couple of inches and plant the entire fruit at a 45-degree angle, sprouted end just below the surface. One fruit becomes the vine. The vine covers everything. Every part is edible. The fruits, picked young, are mild and crisp raw in salads or cooked like summer squash. The young leaves and shoots are nutritious greens, cooked like spinach. The protein-rich seeds inside the fruits roast or deep fry with a flavor people compare to French fries. And after 2 years, the tuberous roots can be dug up and boiled or fried like potatoes. It prefers warm days, high humidity, well-drained, slightly acidic soil. It can't tolerate waterlogged ground, so plant on a raised mound. In zones 8 through 11, it returns every spring, bigger each year, until it's a permanent feature of the garden. Number 6. Yard-long beans. 60 to 70 days from planting to a fence so covered in vines and pods that visitors stop and stare before they understand what they're looking at. Yard-long beans, also called snake beans or asparagus beans, produce pods that genuinely grow 12 to 14 inches long. The first time someone sees one hanging from a fence, they do the same thing every time. They reach out and hold it next to their arm. These vines are built for heat. Where French climbing beans slow above 85 degrees, yard-long beans accelerate. They're tropical legumes from Africa and Asia that twine around any support and rocket up to 12 feet. Showy purple-blue flowers in midsummer become long, slender pods within weeks. They're also drought-tolerant and grow in poor, acidic soil, where other beans struggle. Plant after your last frost, when soil hits 65 degrees, 6 inches apart, 1 inch deep. They germinate in 3 to 4 days. Now the harvest rule that separates a good yield from an extraordinary one. Pick the pods when they're pencil thin and 12 to 14 inches long, before the seeds inside swell and bulge through the pod wall. At that stage, they're tender, nutty, slightly sweet. Past that stage, they turn fibrous and stringy. Pick every 2 or 3 days. Leaving mature pods on the vine tells the plant to stop. Constant harvesting tells it to keep going. Bonus: the leaves are edible too. Boil them like spinach, high in protein and B vitamins. One warning: yard-long beans are legumes. They fix their own nitrogen. Never feed them nitrogen fertilizer. It triggers leafy growth at the expense of pods. Number 7. Winged bean. If yard-long beans look strange, winged beans look impossible. The pods are 4-sided, with ruffled, frilly wings running the length like something pulled from a science fiction garden. Native to Papua New Guinea, grown across Southeast Asia, this climbing tropical legume has been called the soybean of the tropics. Here's why. Every single part of the plant is edible and exceptionally rich in protein. The young green pods, picked at 2 to 4 inches before they get stringy, are eaten raw, sautéed, or steamed. Nutty, almost asparagus-like. The leaves cook like spinach and pack more protein than most leafy greens. The pale blue flowers work as a fresh garnish or in stir-fries. The mature seeds inside older pods rival soybeans in protein. And the starchy underground tubers, harvested at the end of the season, contain more protein than potatoes or yams. Boil them or bake them. Sweet, nutty flavor. Pods, leaves, flowers, seeds, tubers. 1 plant, 5 harvests. The vine twines up to 13 feet and needs strong vertical support. Now here's the catch that trips up northern growers. Traditional tropical varieties are photoperiod sensitive. They only flower when day length drops below 12 hours. In temperate zones, that happens in autumn, often too late for pods to mature before frost. If you live in Zone 7 or colder, you need day-neutral cultivars. Look for the Japanese variety Yurizun or the Chinese Hunan. They flower regardless of day length. Plant after soil warms past 70 degrees. Full sun, well-drained, neutral soil. No nitrogen fertilizer, it fixes its own. One critical note. Mature seeds contain trypsin inhibitors that block digestion. They must be boiled for 2 to 3 hours before eating. Young pods, leaves, and flowers are safe to eat freely. A plant that feeds you 5 different ways from one vine isn't a vegetable. It's a pantry. Number 8. American groundnut. Most plants on this list grow upward. American groundnut grows in both directions at once, and the part that grows downward will change how you think about climbing vegetables. Also called hopness or Indian potato, this is a native North American perennial legume that twines around, supports and climbs 10 feet in its first year, 15 to 20 feet after that. The above-ground vine produces clusters of fragrant maroon flowers that smell like violets, then small edible bean pods. But the real harvest is underground. The roots produce a chain of starchy, egg-shaped tubers strung together like beads on a string. And those tubers contain roughly 3 times the protein of common potatoes. 3 times. From a plant that climbs itself and returns every year for decades. Indigenous peoples across eastern North America cultivated and traded these tubers for centuries before European contact. They sustained the pilgrims through their first winter. And they've been almost completely forgotten by modern gardeners despite being hardy across zones 4 through 9, thriving in damp soils that other vegetables hate, and tolerating partial shade. Harvest the tubers in fall after the first frost. The cold converts their starches to sugars and dramatically improves the flavor. One practical detail: freshly cut tubers ooze a sticky, rubbery latex. Let harvested tubers sit out for about a week before cooking, and the latex breaks down. Pressure cook them, slip the skins off, then slice and pan fry, or boil and mash like potatoes. Save the smallest tubers as seed stock for replanting. Plant in large grow bags about 2 feet wide, 16 inches deep, to contain the spreading roots, simplify the harvest, and protect the tubers from voles. A native, perennial, self-climbing protein source from your own fence. Number 9. Caucasian spinach. While every other plant on this list waits for warm soil, Caucasian spinach is already growing. It's an ancient perennial vine native to the forests and rocky ravines of the Caucasus Mountains. The only spinach relative on Earth that climbs, returns every spring for 30 years or more, and gives you fresh greens weeks before any other vegetable is even germinating. It's brutally cold-hardy, tolerating winter temperatures down to -22 degrees. The crown survives buried under snow and pushes up clustered asparagus-like shoots the moment the ground thaws. The vines climb by twisting their leaf stems around any support netting, branches, light trellises, and reach 12 feet in one season. Here's the part that makes this plant unique. Unlike almost everything else on this list, Caucasian spinach prefers partial shade. It grows naturally in beech and spruce understories. More than half a day of direct sun reduces leaf quality and ends the harvest early. That makes it the only climbing vegetable that thrives on the north side of a fence. The harvest is continuous. Start in earliest spring. With the young shoots, snap them off at ground level and cook them exactly like asparagus. As the vines climb, pick the young heart-shaped leaves continuously for salads or cook them like traditional spinach, rich in vitamins A and C and fiber. Mild, sweet flavor, none of the metallic edge of common spinach. The flower buds and young flower clusters are edible too. One restraint to honor. Harvest lightly for the first 2 or 3 years to let the root system establish. Then harvest freely for decades. It needs free-draining soil that doesn't stay wet in winter. Stagnant winter moisture is the one thing that kills it. Plant once, harvest forever. Number 10. Chinese yam. Here we are. The one I promised would feed you for 30 years from a single planting. The one almost nobody in North America grows. The one that produces food on the vine and under the ground from the same plant. Chinese yam, also called cinnamon vine, is a perennial climbing vine that twines clockwise around any support and reaches 16 feet in a season. Glossy, heart-shaped leaves, small clusters of white flowers in late summer that smell exactly like cinnamon. Hardy from zone 4 through 11. Survives -13 degrees. Thrives in full sun or partial shade, in well-drained soil with almost any pH. 2 harvests from one vine. The first is underground. The tubers grow straight down up to 3 feet long, flowery texture, mild flavor eaten raw, boiled, baked, fried, or grated into soups. Because they grow so deep and so straight, harvesting traditionally meant excavating a 3-foot trench. Brutal work. Here's the modern fix. Plant in angled gutters or trenches set on a 5 to 15 degree slope. The tubers grow along the gutter instead of straight down. You lift the gutter at harvest, and the tubers come out clean and unbroken. The second harvest is on the vine itself. In late summer, pea-sized aerial bulbils form in the leaf joints. They fall and sprout into new plants. That's how the vine propagates itself with zero intervention. You can eat them too. Roast them, boil them, drop them into soup. Flavor like miniature potatoes. One important caution. Chinese yam reproduces so aggressively from those bulbils that it's classified as invasive in several U.S. states, especially across the mid-Atlantic and southeast. If you live there, grow it in containers, collect the bulbils before they drop, and never plant near woodlands. Grown responsibly, this is a self-climbing, self-propagating, frost-hardy, 2-harvest perennial that feeds you from one planting for 30 years. The fence outside your window has been standing there empty for years. It doesn't have to be. 10 plants, 0 stakes, 0 tying, 0 weekend trellis projects. Drop a comment and tell me which one you're planting first. I read every single one. And if this changed how you think about that fence, hit subscribe before you scroll. I'll see you in the next one.